Good. I do realize that I sit between you and lunch, and I do apologize for that, just to begin with. So, thank you so much for having me today, and I'm going to take you through how you can win, grow, and keep your best customers in the digital age. Because that is exactly the thing. Digital economy and digital age is a game changer for everything. And it changes how we do that. How do we keep growing win new customers? So, first thing and most important thing is this one. So, everyone in this room, and myself included, we have spent decades designing funnels, marketing funnels, for our customers all the way to the store. And actually, consumers have followed them. We have been extremely successful. What really shifts in the digital economy that we sit in right now is that they design their own way to their purchase. So what really changed is that 10 years ago, 2/3 of all the touch points that sat before a purchase was driven by us, by brands, by the CMOs. We own and control all those touch points. We did our commercials, we did our promotions, we had our sales staff in the shops. So we sat on that entire funnel and we controlled it. It was a brand-led world, and the success, how you really thrived and had your success in that world was by changing consumers' behavior. The better you were at that, the higher ability you had to actually change consumers' behavior, the more successful you were. So, this is the picture today. So what really changed is that your consumers have totally moved out of that funnel. They now control 2/3 of all touch points. They are researching and buying products in a totally new way. And they are so experts in information and tool. They just call the shots, hunt down whatever they want, and get it delivered on their doorstep at a rock bottom price. That's a consumer-led world. And the big issue about that, and what we really have to understand, is this thing. We used to change consumers' behaviors. We used to shape them. That used to be our job. In this world, in the digital economy, our job is to change our brain's behavior. So we need to change. You can no longer change customers' behaviors. You must change your own behaviors, your brain behaviors. And that's the big shift. Here's a live example for you. So, Gillette used to sit on 70% of all shaving worldwide, and we are now down to 50%. And I say we because it's one of our dear clients. And what really changed here is that modern men, and especially the younger guys, really want brands to understand them. So I'm pretty sure that there are gentlemen in this crowd which are right now shaving with Gillette, which I'm very happy about. Thank you so much. And you've probably done it for 15 years or more. And here's the thing, right? You turned 18, you got married, you got kids, you got new jobs on the way, you got a new house, then you got a divorce, then you got a new family, right? And all the way through that journey, Gillette didn't change anything because they simply didn't know. You cannot know what happens on gentlemen's life if you do TV commercial and broad media. So what happened was that suddenly new players came in like Harry's and Dollar Shave Club, and they took 10% of $1 billion market. And they did that because they came with new delivery services, new products, and they also created this entire club around these younger, modern gentlemen, that they belonged, that there was something tailor-made happening, experiences for them. So that this is what happens in a customer-led world. So it's brains that needs to really change. And you don't only have to change your behavior, your brain behavior, you also have to take data and connect them with people. So have a look at this chart. This is the most valuable brains in 2000. And you will find brands like Nokia, GE, Ford, AT&T, Marlboro on this list. Now, this is the list for today. And what you see here is a platform revolution. So on top you will see the best businesses are those that connect data with consumers. And it's pretty simple. That's the game you're in, whether you're a platform or whether you're a brand. The one that has the most data is going to win the race here. So that's why you really need to lean in and get close to those data. So, most of you people here, really got digital right, because if you didn't get digital right, you probably wouldn't be in this room today, because it's so natural to our business. And data is the new digital. So if you don't really get that data right and create those customer journeys with data and connect people with data, that's your opportunity and your duty. If you do that well, you're here 5 years from now. But it's really now becoming a data race, as you can see. And more things changing, because I know that we also have B2B companies in the crowd today. And the digital economy also changed B2B, because B2B is really becoming B2C, and here's why. B2B clients, they expect much more tailored experiences now, tailor-made messages. And they also expect real-time interactions. So a common business-to-business consumer right now will cross 6 different channels and have interaction across 6 different channels before they do a B2B purchase. And half of them will actually do it on the mobile. So suddenly, B2B is very much like B2C, and everything we know from the B2C side is suddenly flowing into B2B. So those two things are also coming together. One of our clients, Intel, we do it this way with Intel. We kind of reinvented a new category, which is B2B, and it looks like this.
The technology B2B space is more saturated than ever. Everyone's saying the same thing. The future, the future, the future. To the same people, in the same way. Breaking through the clutter has become increasingly challenging, especially with top players spending billions in the space. Intel has always known that superior technology leads to superior outcomes. The same is true in today's marketing environment. Our technology allows us to look deeper into B2C and B2B markets. We call it B2Me. Our game-changing, data-driven approach to individualized, people-based marketing. B2Me means going beyond the position to the person. Taking a more holistic human view of companies. Crafting more personally relevant, more valuable, and more compelling experiences. And creating productive conversations, not just one-way communications. It's a new way of thinking, a different way of working, and a better way of reaching and persuade your customers. We're changing the game, one person at a time.
And one of the things that all our clients experience more or less now is that we have a decline in profit. We are not seeing the growth that we want to see. And maybe you feel the same in your market and your industry. It's a common thing, and it's because right now we are brand-led, where we need to be consumer-led. We need to change our businesses into becoming something that people really want to engage in. Create journeys where people want to sit, so we can capture the data and be even smarter with them. So businesses are not seeing the growth they want, and at the same time we see that demand is really what we all need. I'm pretty sure that many of you have that experience, that the demand you used to get is not the same as what you get right now. So that means that everyone in this room and all CMOs in any business is on a growth agenda. So the CMO and the marketing people are really having a momentum here. Suddenly we're not just a pretty face, suddenly the experiences you run is actually leading into conversions and purchase throughout the entire chain and journey. So that places you front and center of everything that really happens in your industry and business, because you will have to create that demand. So you're on a growth agenda, and that means your role is also expanding, you're going from creating communications into actually running full circles of broad media awareness to performance, to ad tech and martech and CRM, and run that full entire circle. And here's how we do it, and here's how we kind of work strategically around it, and maybe you can use this wheel. But what we do is that we build customer journeys around those 5 ways to win, keep and grow our best customers. First thing I want to say is that what most businesses are struggling with right now is that we don't have one full integrated way of talking about push and pull. And we need both to come together, because we need, of course, to create messages that actually we can scale, and at the same time when we convert people, that we can actually keep them and grow them when they're in our system. So that united thing is what probably sets us apart, and this is the hard wheel to do, but this is how we're going to do it. So I'm going to take you through the wheel. Just, I have cases for all steps, so I give examples of how we, that might inspire you. So the first one is this one. And the trouble today is not reaching people. We have plenty of tools to reach people. The hard part here is to influence them. That's a really hard one. So how do you influence people? You need a purpose, you need to motivate them, because remember, they are running your journeys now. You can't run them in the funnel anymore. So you need to create journeys they want to be in, and one of the ways to make them want to be in your journeys is to have a purpose. And here's the thing, right? Having a purpose means you need to have an opinion. If you don't have opinions, you won't see any growth. So if you want to keep your current market share, or stall your profits, or even decline your profits with the rest of our top 500 Fortune companies, stay out of opinions. But if you need to grow, if you have KPIs where you need to grow, there's no way around it anymore. You need a purpose. That means you need an opinion. And that's something that's very uncomfortable for almost any client I work with, because it has been so beneficial for brains for decades. Like when we had the brain-led world, having an opinion was just not smart for business, because we have mass audiences, and you don't want to close a segment, you don't want to take a segment out of that mass audience. You want to keep it, and the funnel worked. But that funnel is gone, and the only way you can create demand and actually win on customer journeys is by having opinions, is by having a purpose. I know it's really a hard one, so I have an example for you on how to get that started. This is Smirnoff, and we built a little simple thing with Smirnoff. It's called Equalizer, and we teamed up with Spotify because we saw one thing, and that is that every top 10 streaming list is literally without any women. Worldwide, Spotify. So we wanted to change that, and we wanted to create a setup where we, make people aware that it's super male-oriented, and that, maybe we are searching too narrow. That's a very small, simple thing for one brain to do. And think about that when you have campaigns and take that into the world, that you don't need to save everything, but you need to have an opinion on at least smaller things, and really try to push for social change, because people want to sit with brains that has opinions that are really changing the world. So have a look at this
2017 was a landmark year for women. From the Women's March to the #MeToo movement, inequality was increasingly being exposed. Despite this progress, 10 out of 10 top streamed tracks on Spotify were from men artists. While people began waking up to gender disparity in music, clearly our listening habits don't reflect the change we want to see. This is the story of how Smirnoff, an activist brand in music, and Spotify, the world's largest music platform, came together to transform people's listening habits at scale. So ahead of International Women's Day, Smirnoff partnered with Spotify to launch the Smirnoff Equalizer. Users connected the Equalizer to their Spotify accounts to see just how equal or unequal their listening habits war between men and women artists. The equalizer gave users the opportunity to try a more equalized playlist based on their listening habits. Users could use a slider to add in even more women artists and could share their new playlist via social. Leading up to International Women's Day, we launched our global activation through Spotify in the US, UK, Ireland, Australia, Mexico, and Argentina. In addition, we launched supporting off-platform activations across these markets through social media and in-market publishers. On International Women's Day, we launched homepage takeovers across our Spotify global activation markets to ensure our message won the day. And as people started to share the results, the world started to notice. And a conversation was started. And even those that thought their listening habits were equal were sometimes shocked to find out the truth. All of this led to more discovery, more exposure, and more opportunity for great women artists on the worldwide stage. This year, we've moved one step closer to achieving gender parity in music, and will continue to empower change.
Good. So that's actually, it's doable, right? You know, make a little digital asset and equalizer something, you know, something you spotted and push for change with that thing. That's enough. That is enough to create demand and give you the results. The second one is activate. Now you got your purpose, now you need to scale it to the world, right? And how you scale it really smart these days is build everything together, knit it together in an ecosystem. So how do you actually do that, right? Because ecosystems is what everyone talks about. I have a case from Denmark here that I want to share with you because it's a real estate player from Denmark, not one of the biggest ones, but they really wanted to change how you sell houses. So what they did is that we helped them build an entirely new way of selling a house. The first thing we found out was that people are not really buying a house, they're buying a home. And when you're buying a home, actually the neighborhood plays a big role in that. So you kind of buy into a neighborhood. So we segmented Denmark into 2,000 different neighborhoods. And then we invited the neighborhoods to start, you know, bringing in all the data. And we had 100 different data sources on top to enrich it. And then we started to really sell through neighborhoods. So everyone living in the neighborhood started to actually build their own neighborhood. And it looks like this.
This whole time, what if instead of only showing you a house, walls, rooms and square footage, we could show you a place to live, the shopping, the culture, the school district, what kind of people live there, and what would they tell you about the area? Because while you're searching for the right home, the right neighbourhood is also searching for you. Why don't we make that match easier to find? That's the idea powering our neighbourhood. A completely new take on real estate marketing by Magnetics linked by Isobar and Danish real estate agent Dan Beleg. Our neighbourhood is a game-changing digital destination that lets you explore your next neighbourhood intimately before you buy through the combined power of big data insights and crowdsourced content from the people who already live there. It seamlessly connects house listings to neighbourhood insights by dividing Denmark into thousands of neighbourhoods and pulling insights from vast amounts of data to give a vivid description of the people, places and possibilities of the neighbourhood. Simply put, we've given every single one of the thousands of house listings in Denmark a rich, interactive and data-driven story about what life is like from exactly that place. Popular hobbies, political leanings, tax rate, weather, values, beliefs, best shops, running routes, everything you'd want to know before you move. Automatically generated, completely unique, and of course connecting effortlessly back to buying the house. Finally, to the power of big data, we added the love of local hearts by letting the locals single out and promote their favourite spots and giving sellers a way to boost their sale in the process. The results? In the first 3 months, appraisals booked went up 9%, showings booked by 6.3%, and incoming leads, the main measure of market interest, an incredible 58.3%. Turns out a lot of people weren't just looking for a house, but rather a place to live, and found it through our neighbourhood.
And that takes us to convert, and that is nursing you all the way to the sale. You are like, you're really leaning in now, you're ready to, research and maybe press yes, thank you, and purchase, but we need to nurse you here. And this is where we need all kinds of triggers to help people actually press yes, buy. I have two cases for you here. The first one is an example of how you drive membership through data, how you really use data in a smart way, because you want to use data to connect people, and here's a really nice example of how we did that. So this is Amazon. It's Amazon, they opened a brick and mortar store in New York late last year, and everything in this store is rated 4 stars or more by 900 million primetime viewers from Amazon. So they use their customers to select what is going inside the store. So whenever you go in here, everything you see is selected by other customers, and it must be a 4-star meal. That's a lovely way of segmenting your store.
We're at the new Amazon 4-star store in Soho, New York City, where everything is rated at least 4 stars, is new and trending, or top selling. Let's check it out. The average rating of a product in this store is 4.4 stars, and more than 1.8 million customers have given products in this store 5 stars. They're consistently on rotation, so you're never be bored. This table puts Amazon's smart home technology front and center. So right here we have Echo, which can not only manipulate our lights, but also our fan. Echo, turn on the light. Okay. This Amazon store is all about using data to curate the experience. And this table is all about what New Yorkers like best. Amazon is making a push into brick and mortar, and this is just a part of it. And for all of those wondering, this Amazon 4-star is a permanent location. And it's at an opportune moment with the holidays coming right up. So for all of you gift shoppers who like to procrastinate, fret not. You'll be able to pick up all your essentials here, such as future boxes.
So 4 stars, and we kind of have a little bit of the same example from Finland. So this is a retail case from Finland, and there is a corner store in Finland throughout all the local communities, and it's this shop. So it's your little local shop, and what we did here is that we invited the local neighborhood to decide what should be on the shelves as a part of nurturing them and making sure that they actually transact with us. So we gave that opportunity to everyone to help us select what should be in our assortment, and 150,000 people actually came with personal wishes.
Increasingly personalized online shopping is changing the way we are wired. We have come to expect similar personalized experiences in the physical world as well, even when buying our daily groceries. However, at Finnish brick and mortar grocery chain giants, the service and selection have stayed the same for decades. S-Group is Finland's biggest grocery store chain. Their crown jewel, Alippa, takes pride in being the official corner store of local communities. So to change the status quo, Alippa started a drastic customization of their brick and mortar to reflect the lifestyles and flavor palettes of their surrounding communities. We launched Alippa Block Wishes as a hyper-local integrated digital initiative and a logistics and production line turnaround. With the help of a chatbot, customers could request their favorite products to be added on the shelves of their local outlet. After introducing Alippa Block Wishes to the local, the selection in each neighborhood started to change rapidly. Block Wishes became an instant hit. In a time of retail revolution, the previously prehistoric Alippa store chain managed to evolve into a network of corner stores, customized local shops with unique selections.
How you can nurture into a sale, and here's when you transact, right? And this is probably one of the biggest changes in the digital economy, that is the transact part, because in our brain-led funnels that we use to control, transact purchase was in the very end of the funnel, right? Now that this entire journey, which is no longer a funnel, but a journey that can go up and down, and people skip steps and jump stuff and spend more time with a certain face, in that world, purchase needs to sit across every single experience during that journey. So from being need in the very end, suddenly every time you have an experience, every time you build an experience, you need to build in an opportunity for me to buy. The buying and the experience is melded together, and it needs to sit right next to each other. And that's really hard for our entire marketing operation. And normally I show it this way, so this is the latest stats. But what consumers actually see is just the tip of the iceberg. And to actually have that transaction sitting next to any experience that you have with the brand, you know, on your journey, takes a lot of investments under the waterline. And that's basically where most of our clients right now invest heavily, to make sure that they can actually run that really smooth, rockstar kind of front-end, frictionless ecosystem that takes that entire iceberg to actually do that. And this is MarTech, AdTech, CRM, all the technologies that you know, but that you need to wire that journey, otherwise it's not happening. So if you want to transact everywhere, this is one of your investments. I just want to share an example from Brazil on how you can really rock your front end and how you can make that experience. And you can also see from this case how deep the infrastructure behind the water line is. This is Brazil, and almost any person under 30 years in Brazil is not having a bank. They're just unbanked. It's highly unusual, but that's the case in Brazil. And 71% of all under 30 years old would rather go to a dentist than have a bank. So it's not an easy sell, right? So the task here was to set up how would a digital bank for millennials look in a digital economy. So we had to flip everything around, and we also had to rethink banking, because right now in Brazil you're fined, you're getting fees whenever you are out of money. And I work for millennials because they're totally out of money, and they work in a 30-day circle. You know, life is 30 days, and then we start over again. So we had to redesign that entire experience, and it looks like this.
Make
industry. But you really have to think about what kind of assets and technology is sitting out there that you can put into that experience. So that takes us to retain. And retain is the moment where you have good customers and now you need to grow them, you need to add value. So how do you add value to your customers in a digital age? So in Netherlands, we had an issue at Porsche. So we have 30,000 Porsche owners in Netherlands. And we lost track with a lot of them because Porsche is often something you buy from someone who bought it first time, and then you're the second owner of the Porsche, maybe even the third owner of a Porsche. So whenever it shifts to the second or the third, we lose track of those customers. But they are still extremely valuable to us because the customers need a lot of maintenance. That is a big opportunity for our business to actually get that, but we couldn't get to them. So how do you find people that you really don't have data on and bring them back into the system so you can get data and actually start those journeys? That was a big question on Porsche. So here's how we retained some really happy Porsche owners. So that took us around the wheel, and the most important thing in digital economy, that is that you change your brain's behavior to follow the journey of the consumers, and that takes an opinion. So you need an opinion in order to grow and create that demand. Then your biggest advantage in a digital economy is your customer journey. You're competing not on the value of your product or even the price of your product. You're competing on that superior journey. And for that, you're going to need data. And you're going to use data to connect people. It's such a clear trend. Whenever you have a set of data, figure out how you can connect people, even through ratings or through selection of other people's opinion, or if you can use it to actually attract new customers and retain them. So, and then you're going to also push for social change, because that's something that clients really want nowadays. They want brands with opinion. And then you're going to spin that entire wheel and build your organization around it. And then you'll be super effective and will win tonight's award next year. So thank you very much.
We have a few questions from the audience. One is kind of about social responsibility of the business, and especially when you are working with so many data and you are in such close proximity to communities. Is it really not slightly deceitful to societies when brand aims to change the world, but actually it wants to earn the money?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That's the big game changer. The big game changer is it used to be quite risky for businesses to go with opinions and going with changing the world. Today, if you don't have that ambition as part of more ambitions, because you also need to have a really nice product and it needs to look good and it needs to be the right pricing and everything, But if you're not on top of that, want to push the social change, you will not be selected. And we have a demand crisis happening for most of our clients, and it's because we shy away from the one thing that drives demand these days. So yes, everything you can do with sustainability, everything you can do with changing issues that you see around, it could be anything. You know, you're really valued by that, and clients really are going to pick brains by that. So it is a new table stake. You know, it used not to be something we had to do, but now you need to do it. And again, then you say, are clients unhappy that we're then, you know, making money by pushing social change? Basically, they want brains with opinions, and they know that brains are making money, and it's perfectly fine, but they cannot make money without doing that push, without changing stuff on top. Then they're not seeing the demand they want.
The Porsche question is how actually did Porsche use the data of classic car owners, and what is marketing for you today? So it's kind of two questions. So starting from the Porsche.
Let's start with the Porsche, and then you have to tell me the second one. Yeah, so the Porsche case, it's one of my personal favorites. I think it's not a big audience. It's 30,000 Porsche owners, and then actually, you know, maybe we came down to 18,000 Porsche owners that where we got new data on, and suddenly we knew who they were. And what we have used the data on is actually making sure that we're now maintaining their cars, because that's where the business sits with us. So we didn't know how to reach out to them and how to promote our maintenance services and how to get them to the dealer shop, because we had no idea who they were and where they were. And with this event, they signed up and gave us all the data to get the picture, and agreed that we could also communicate with them. So it's that you add value, you give them something, and then they give you data back, and then suddenly we had 80,000 new customers that we could actually, you know, start inviting back into our system. And then the second question. The second is kind of a question we were discussing all the morning. So, what is marketing for you today? That's a tough one. It's very different. It really is, and it's really hard, because your organizations and my organization is not geared towards that. We are still we're still in the funnel business. We are organized around that. So also making organizations and your own organization and brain understand that now we need a totally different structure, and we need to say stuff that is very uncomfortable for us, and put that into the market and actually really stand up behind change that is so out of our comfort zone. So and that is marketing today, right? And how do I feel about that? I think marketing is having an unbelievable momentum. I think we are back to the Madison Avenue golden days. Now we were there with broad media, but now we're back, because suddenly marketing is not a pretty face. It's literally, if you want to run a business today and you don't get this right, you're not running a business. Meaning that suddenly we are front and center with the CEO to really drive business. And we were never that. We were the campaign people, right? So it's a massive opportunity, but the challenge to get it right, it will take us years.
Nice journey. Another question regarding social responsibility, but a more geographical perspective. What do you think? Does social responsibility still is a motivator on the EMEA market as well?
Still is a motivator on what?
On EMEA.
On EMEA, yeah. I think it's a generation thing. I think it's like if you wanna sell to someone under 30, you know, you cannot sell without this thing. You cannot sell without trying to do something smart about the world. And if you don't have that ambition, then most people under 30 will simply pick someone else. You know, so if you want to have business with the new generation, you need to do it. But what we see is that it's also going into other segments and other businesses and other audiences now. We see it in France. It's big here. It's big in the North. It's big in the US. It's big everywhere. And maybe you also noticed that last year everyone, maybe that's a trend going into this year, but everyone invested in cleaning up the oceans, right? It was like every single brain. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you tap into. You know, you can tap into all kinds of things. You're allowed to do that by customers, but you need to tap in. You cannot choose not to. That's a big game changer. So I think first and foremost, it's a generational thing, but it's also something that it's a license to play that also many B2B businesses are giving each other now. So I cannot work for Procter & Gamble unless I meet certain sustainability criteria. So we're going to meet them, right? And that's how it goes. So it comes from the business side, but it's because it's increasingly important for people.
And one technology questions. If we could comment, what kind of data analysis tools you use every day for or you can recommend?
It's that iceberg, right? It goes on and on. So the hard part about data is to find a real insight, and that's the thing. So, for example, in our business, we have millions of data coming in every single day, actually for each client. So we have so many data coming in, and you actually have the same because you are now building out your CRM systems. You're building out your data marketing automation. So you're building out these systems, and suddenly you're flooded with data. So, you know, it's not as much which system do you actually use to sort it out. It's not as much that as what you need to find out with these data is what is a behavioral change that you can actually scale out to the market. So you need to look for what behavioral changes with your customers are you tracking with your data, because that's your next way to win your customer journey. You need to spot them first, and you need to react on them first. So it's not as much which tools, because there are literally 1,000 tools you can use, and I can't even say that one is better than the other. Of course, you need some sorting tools, and artificial intelligence will also help you on top. But what you need is, you need to look for behaviors, changes of behaviors, trends of behaviors, and add them then first in your category. That's how you're going to win. So it's more than anything.
Thank you so much for visiting and...
Thank you. And now I'm back. And I gave you back maybe 10 minutes, right? So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rikke.
Thank you.
Taigi, štai čia yra labai svarbi informacija. Užeikite